Got to be Wastelanders, my name is Mo Fisher and you're on the Lost Holotapes channel. This is another installment in this series where I narrate the complete story of the Fallout world using my custom dynamic map created in Google Earth for demonstration. Today we are going back to the roots, back to New California, exploring events that occurred before, during and slightly after the main conflict of Fallout 2. This installment will serve as the primary source of lore. We'll also incorporate lore from the Restoration mod, which reintroduced cut content into the original game. The events of Fallout 2 take place in the northern part of the New California Wasteland and the western part of the non-canonical Nevada Wasteland. As a result, we won't discover much new about settlements and factions south of Shady Sands, but we'll encounter a dozen new formations in the north. Before we dive in, make sure to like the video, drop a comment and subscribe. My channel is small and it needs to grow. If you are new here, I recommend checking out the previous episodes in this series before watching this one. The playlist is in the description. With the introduction out of the way, let's dive straight into the analysis of the region. The Vault Dweller group completed the construction of their settlement on August 18, 2167. It was named Arroyo. The Vault Dweller becomes the leader of the settlement, along with their spouse. Over time and through generational changes, the civilization of the village declines, reverting to a primitive tribal level and introducing features such as shamans, elders, exclusive reliance on agriculture, primitive tools for work and hunting, rituals and pagan trials. After the incident and dispute over Coronado Island, the old town began to rapidly develop through the sale of looted goods from the military base, while San Isidro, on the contrary, languished in its isolationism. It had no chance of preserving its independence, and sometime between 2167 and 2189, Old Town absorbed it, along with Sweetwater Dam and La Pensione, uniting the agglomeration into Dayglow. The city of Hope in California was rebuilt after being destroyed by super mutants sometime post-2171. The Crimson Caravan and Fargo traders returned to it. Before 2180, in the city of New Reno, one of the most influential clan of Bishop family is established, with which survivalists from the Cajon Pass region established strong trade relations. The family's headquarters in Reno is the Shark Club. In 2185, the wandering supermutant Marcus met Paladin Jacob of the Brotherhood of Steel. A spark ignited between them at first sight. In a burst of passion, they had 3 days of intense physical contact, after which they admitted their feelings to each other. Okay, enough of this gay stuff. They just fought until they got tired and suggested forgetting their differences over a bottle of Nuka-Cola. Just some bro relations. After some time in their relationship, refugees joined them and they founded the town of Broken Hills, which became a haven for humans, ghouls and supermutants. After the destruction of the necropolis and the fall of the Master, many refugees with skin issues found their place there. Everything was peaceful, full of love and harmony. However, in 2186, Jacob told Marcus, "Sorry, we can't be together, but you were the best of mutants I met," and walked off into the sunset. The main driver of Broken Hill's economy was the mine, where big, muscular men with bare torsos sweated while swinging their picks at the ore. Okay, let's move on. In the same year of 2186, the idea of creating a state came to Aradesh and Tandy, the mayor of Shady Sands and his daughter. They founded the New California Republic and incorporated Junktown into it. Considering that Scrap Heap is nowhere mentioned as an NCR settlement, it presumably perishes before 2186. It might have perished as early as 2162, when supermutants attacked nearby Junktown. In 2188, in the dark of night, the Vault Dweller's daughter is born. She will be the future tribal elder and the mother of the Fallout 2 protagonist. The idea of creating a state turned out to be very successful. It began to grow rapidly and absorb new settlements. Just 3 years after its formation, the NCR managed to annex 3 more major cities: Boneyard, Dayglow and Hub. It expanded to the extent that 5 states were created: Shady, Cobb, Los Angeles, Maxon, and Dayglow. Boneyard emerged for the first time as a cohesive city, not just a collection of scattered settlements. Meanwhile, it can be assumed that the Blades faction became extinct. Dayglow, when annexed by the NCR, became one of the most important centers of the New California Republic. The most desolate state in the NCR was Maxon, which the NCR named after the founder of the Brotherhood of Steel, as a gesture of deep respect and friendship for their help in defending Shady Sands from supermutants. However, the Brotherhood of Steel and their Lost Hills bunker were not assimilated. A little later, after 2189, an autonomous militia of NCR Rangers was created by Seth, the gatekeeper of Shady Sands, in 2162. They mainly fought against slavers and raiders. They were part of the NCR, but at the same time were independent in decision-making and were not part of the regular army. On the one hand, their activities laid the foundation for the state's policy of protecting people from tyranny in the Wastelands. On the other hand, the state itself created obstacles to their operations. This is the most coherent explanation of their relationship with the NCR that I found, sorry for that. In 2195, due to a deep political crisis, a sizable faction of the Brotherhood of Steel left Lost Hills and embarked on an expedition to the Midwest Wasteland. During the flight, the expedition encountered a storm and crashed in the vicinity of Chicago. We already discussed this in more detail in the episode dedicated to Fallout tactics. In 2196, Aradesh and Seth died during an expedition to the Sonora Wasteland south of California after a raiders' attack. Tandy, Aradesh's daughter, inherited the presidential seat. In 2205, the NCR passed a series of liberal laws protecting ghouls and supermutants from persecution and granting them rights. On January 16th, several years after his wife's death, the Vault Dweller left Arroyo, leaving behind his journals and the worn jumpsuit on the bed. While traveling, he ended up in Texas and helped the Brotherhood squad reclaim the town of Carbon from Jane's raiders. On February 2nd, the Vault Dweller's daughter begins unplanned training to become the tribal elder. She undergoes various trials, including combat. In the same year, another, third expedition to the east, to Texas, is launched from Lost Hills. The expedition is led by Rhombus. 2210, the Vault Dweller's daughter ascends to the throne of the Arroyo tribe. Before 2212, on the ocean shore, the Umbra tribe emerges when three other tribes merge into one. Taking Sulik's age as a starting point, let's assume that Umbra appeared at least 30 years ago. On March 5th of 2220, Dick Richardson inherits the Enclave presidential post after his father's death. He is very ambitious and dedicates his entire future tenure to mainland expansion. Under his orders, the Curling FAV-13 virus is developed, intended to exterminate all radiation-exposed humans and mutants on the mainland. On March 23rd of 2221, the Chosen One, the future protagonist of Fallout 2, is born in the village of Arroyo. Before 2225, for unknown reasons, one of the high-ranking elders and the descendant of Roger Maxon, Jeremy Maxon, is exiled from the Brotherhood of Steel. He, along with a group of loyal soldiers, reached the survivalists in the Cajon Pass. On the ruins of the fictional pre-war city of Gecko City, in the Poseidon Energy Plant No. 5, a new settlement of ghouls named Gecko is formed. Ghouls try to restore the station's functionality and trade with Broken Hills. By this time, Vault City has become a xenophobic city-state, and the nearby presence of Gecko frightens its residents. Vault City would prefer neither of Gecko or Broken Hills to exist. On July 20th of 2236, the Enclave begins reconnaissance of Mariposa, and by September, excavation of the former military base is in full swing. The Enclave sought to obtain original samples of the FAV virus needed to develop their lethal biological weapon, the Curling. Since no one wanted to get their hands dirty, the Enclave used slaves. Due to the incredible mutagenic properties of the FAV virus, the slaves began to gradually turn green, lose their hair, and become dual-wheated by October. Among the slaves was a man named Melchior, a magician from Reading. Using the dexterity of his hands, he secretly smuggled and created a weapons cache in the excavation camp, preparing for a rebellion among the slaves, realizing that their metamorphosis would reach a point where the Enclave would simply execute them all. In January of 2237, Enclave scientists finally obtained samples of the FAV and leave the base, leaving a garrison. However, a rebellion of mutant slaves occurs and they massacre this garrison. Escaping soldiers seal the entrances to the base, walling in the so-called second-generation supermutants, or Melchior supermutants inside. In 2238, Reading faces a problem. A pack of Wanamingos takes over one of the mines, reducing gold production and severely damaging the city's economy. In the same year, Harold arrives in Gecko and improves the efficiency of the Poseidon energy plant for energy production. For this, he is made the mayor of the city. In 2239, there is a leak of radioactive materials in some local water source in Gecko. This threatens Vault City, which apparently replenished its water supplies from this reservoir. Perhaps Vault City was downstream. Being generally biased against ghouls, they believed that Gecko was engaging in deliberate terrorism and prepared to declare war and go to destroy Gecko. Besides She, a faction of religious cult Hubologists appears in San Francisco, created before the war. They are based on the Golden Gate Bridge and also have an outpost in the NCR. This cult is a homage to Scientology. Just like the creator of Scientology, Ron Hubbard, a pre-war writer Dick Hubble wrote a bunch of books. Future cult used them to build their religion. He even released a manual book of how to start your own cult. The religious philosophy of the Hobologist is quite vague. The world is wheel, its center is the Hubble, the spokes are the Hobologists, and the non-believers are the rim. In the Hobologist religion, there is a concept of neurodynes, which activate in a person when society suppresses him. There are also spirits of the dead, which also activate neurodynes. To cleanse oneself of them, one must undergo a zeta radiation cleansing ritual, which costs money. The rank system within the cult is based on the number of these procedures. Leaders of the cult have them around 7 to 9. The believer's ultimate goal is to reach a paradise, which is represented as the planet Quetzal, and meet there with the Starfather. This concept was taken from Dick's book Battlefield Quetzal, which apparently is a light space sci-fi novel, the same that flooded bookstores and kiosks in the 90s and 2000s. In general, like almost any cult, to join, a newcomer needs to donate their property to the community fund and renounce worldly possessions. Besides this, Hobologists actively engaged in propaganda and brainwashing of the local uneducated population. In Gecko, a new cult, Renewal, is formed. Its main mission is the transformation of ghouls into humans in some way, similar to the Rebirth cult. Renewal was created by an intelligent pig rat, which wants to use the cult to conquer the world. I guarantee that if this concept appeared in one of the games released by Bethesda, they would have been smeared with poop by the snobbish part of the fanbase. After the Master's fall, the Brotherhood of Steel went into political underground. The war with the super-mutants and the subsequent defense of local cities and settlements severely depleted both the organization's resources and personnel. In addition, within the organization, there were conflicts after conflicts, as a result of which 2 expeditions of 2195 and 2208 went AWOL, and then the descendant of Maxon had to be expelled. In general, by 2242, the Brotherhood was just sitting in their bunker building up their strength. Whether they recruited people from the Wasteland or engaged in persistent baby farming is unclear. All their activity in the northern part of the region was limited to creating small outposts in the cities of Den, NCR, and San Francisco. Shortly before 2241, hungry slags emerged from the caves and built a farm over the entrance, working at night. It turned out that their caves were right next to the town of Modoc, and the new construction attracted the attention of the inhabitants. To avoid being disturbed, the slags laid out meat and bloody imitations of corpses, and at night they smeared themselves with luminescent fungus to resemble ghosts, frightening the residents of Modoc. Before the year 2241, a man named Darion, the sole surviving child of the Huns after the massacre perpetrated by the Vault Dweller in 2161, driven by the idea of revenge and the restoration of the faction, establishes the new Huns. However, it's challenging to label them as a tribe, as they lack cultural background, since Darion is the only Mongol. It is more of an ordinary raider gang. They settle in the abandoned Vault 15 and plan to carry out mischief against NCR, including using guerrilla tactics. However, Vault 15 is also claimed by a crowd of civilian refugees. The Huns don't allow them in, but don't disperse them either. Seeing some benefits in cooperation, the Huns permit them to settle near the entrance, forming the settlement called the Squad. In exchange for promises to repair Vault 15, allow resettlement later, and supplies supposedly produced in the vault, they wanted the refugees to shield the vault from NCR's prying eyes. However, the Huns did not produce any supplies in Vault 15. They simply raided caravans. Moreover, the Huns' reprehensible behavior, including raping and terrorizing the inhabitants, does not help them build strong relations with the settlement. Prior to the year 2241, a raider group called Yakuza emerged, roaming around New Reno and adopting part of the Japanese mafia culture, excluding the code of Bushido. Better to live a coward than die a hero becomes their motto. Most likely, Yakuza members are descendants of Japanese individuals who arrived in California as part of Shi Huan-Ti's crew. Also, the Morton Brothers gang operates in the city of Reading. Before 2241, the NCR establishes the Stockman Association, an agricultural company mainly focused on breeding Brahmins. Since political stability is largely ensured by privileges for influential individuals, such large and strategically important trading houses carry weight in the state's political establishment. Mr. Bishop has a group of mechanics working for him, known as Chop Shop Mechanics, primarily involved in dismantling pre-war cars for battery sales. I debated whether to highlight them as a separate faction, but in the context of the game's plot, it's probably worth doing. Before the year 2241, the town of Klamath is established on the ruins of the pre-war city of Klamath Falls, Oregon. The town thrives on trappers, hunters of geckos, who not only sustain the economy by providing food and leather goods for sale, but also through their activities keep the town safe from mutants and raiders. In the Den, the Slavers Guild led by Metzger operates, along with some unnamed minor gangs, including Tyler's gang and Lara's gang. Metzger also wants to start producing the drug Jet and hires Tyler's gang to guard the East Side Church, which he uses as a warehouse. Additionally, the slavers establish a temporary camp west of the city. The Enclave discovers a functional tanker in San Francisco Bay, the PMV Valdez, and partially dismantles it, taking away some important equipment. After this, some of the city's residents, including artists and hippies, move onto the ship, forming a settler faction known as the Vagrants. North of Gecko, a settlement called the Abbey appears, where local abbots collect various technologies, books, and other sources of information. They couldn't do anything with it, unlike the Brotherhood, as they didn't understand anything about it. They simply formed a library accessible to any traveler. By the year 2241, the Umbra and Arroyo tribes began trading. In 2241, Tandy is in her 10th or 11th term as a president, and apparently she managed to reset somewhere. Twice. By this time, the NCR had already achieved significant success in expanding to the south. Beyond lies only the ocean, and the NCR needs to develop to the north. In the north, among other things, the key point of interest is the city of Reading, whose gold is desired by NCR to secure its own currency, the NCR dollar. Also, Reading is of interest to Vault City and New Reno. In 2241, New Reno is controlled by 4 mafia clans: the Mordino family in the Desperado Casino, Bishop in the Shark Club, Wright in the Wright Estate, and the Salvatore family in Salvatore's Bar. The Mordino family is mainly involved in the drug trade. In their laboratory stables, they produce jet, which they supply to Reading, attempting to get miners hooked. The Bishop family actively opposes the Mordino family, consolidating with the NCR and unsuccessfully trying to bring Vault City into an alliance. The Salvatore clan remained in shadows until 2241, but by this time they had already established allied relations with the Enclave, who supplied them with energy weapons in exchange for chemical components for experiments. Vault City is in a very difficult situation by 2241. Their population is growing, and for the population, territory and additional infrastructure are required. However, they need energy for that. But here's the problem: the Vault stock reactor can handle expansions. Moreover, it promises to fail within 15 years. Instead of stepping on the throats of their nationalist ideals and starting to negotiate with the Ghouls and Gecko, who produce electricity, they shoot down Ghoul diplomatic delegations, even when they offer help themselves. 2241. Beside the Reading, the NCR identified New Reno and Vault City as excellent candidates for annexation. New Reno poses a significant challenge due to the war between local and influential mafia clans. As for Vault City, the city possesses the most advanced medical technology in the region, and internal problems related to the dying Vault generator and lack of normal trade due to xenophobia could undermine the current regime. Therefore, the NCR focuses primarily on Vault City. Instead of seizing the city through military expansion, the NCR wants to attempt establishing allied relationships first. Perhaps NCR's assistance will convince the city's residents that marrying Vault City to their NCR is a good match. However, in February, Vault City rejects the proposal for an alliance with both the NCR and the Bishops. Vault City's proud and foolish foreign policy leading the city into a crisis is shaped by its toxic first resident, John Lynette. The NCR sides heavily and turns to Plan B, involving the use of spies and propagandists. The Bishops, on their part, hire a group of raiders led by the Angel Eyes to constantly harass the city, attacking and weakening its defensive perimeter and pushing Vault City to realize the need to join the NCR for security reasons. The energy weapons obtained from the business with the Enclave gave the Salvatore clan a colossal advantage in military strength, which they did not hesitate to use. In 2241, they orchestrated the West Side Massacre, annihilating delegations from the Bishop and Mordino clans during their meeting. The Salvatore clan didn't stop there. They poisoned Richard Wright, the son of the clan's leader, with tainted jet, framing the Mordino clan and attempting to turn the clans against each other. Meanwhile, in Broken Hills, the anti-mutant conspiracy is forming. They commit murders to blame mutants, sabotage mine equipment, and even attempt to blow up the mine and flood the super mutants inside. In March, the Angel Eyes mercs begin raiding caravans heading to Vault City. On May 15, 2241, the Enclave sends a remote command to Vault 13 to open. The residents eagerly await evacuation, life on the surface, and hope for the future. However, on the next day, May 16th, instead of salvation, the arriving Enclave captures the Vault Dwellers for use in experiments, executing those who resist. On May 17th, the Enclave populates the empty Vault 13 with a pack of genetically gifted Deathclaws, Gruther Pack, to guard the territory. However, despite directives, the Deathclaws not only refrain from killing Wanderers in the vicinity, but also allow these Wanderers to settle in the Vault, forming another diverse settlement. Shortly before the events of Fallout 2, slavers led by Metzger attacked an Umbra caravan, killing the resisting guards and relocating the rest to their slavers' camp. In the narrative, we won't use the settlement called Village, introduced in Restoration mode, since its story completely repeats the story of the Gerlach settlement from Fallout of Nevada. Fun fact, the original concept for Fallout 2 implied the presence of the Brotherhood of Steel's mobile fortress, which roamed the Wasteland, picking up and enslaving mutants and creating lobotomites. Apparently, in the early stages of Fallout 2 development, the Brotherhood was supposed to be the main antagonist, although the main conflict of interest is not specified. Nevertheless, the mobile fortress was realized in Fallout Sonora, which is incredibly cool. I love it when scrapped ideas are rethought over time and are incorporated into the lore in one form or another. The actual gameplay part of Fallout 2's story begins with the Chosen One's initiation ceremony in Arroyo on July 27th of 2241. The Chosen One, the Vault Dweller's grandchild, undergoes the ritual, demonstrating physical and mental abilities, and sets out on a journey to find the Garden of Eden creation kit to save the village, which is dying from the severe drought. In the search for the Gek, the Chosen One ends up in the Den, where they investigate a fight between the rival gangs, Lara and Tyler, for the opportunity to work for Metzger. Tyler's gang perishes. Since the Chosen One did not have a quest to eliminate Metzger, the Slavers Guild survives the events of Fallout 2. This will also be confirmed by Fallout New California. Nevertheless, the Chosen One destroys their camp and frees the prisoners, including members of the Umbra tribe. The town of Modoc is also suffering from the drought, just like Arroyo. Modoc needs the ghost farm to sustain itself. Learning from the Chosen One who resides there, Modoc inhabitants are ready to storm the farm, as one of the town's residents supposedly died there. However, the Chosen One reconciles everyone and helps the two settlements establish trade. The Chosen One is also forced to resolve diplomatic conflicts between Gecko and Val City, involving the Renewal cult as a mediator. In Broken Hills, the Chosen One uncovers a conspiracy against mutants, and its members receive deserved punishment for their misdeeds. Marcus steps down from his role as mayor and embarks on an adventure with the Chosen One. Redding faces a serious problem besides the Wanamingo mines. Both competing mines in the city, Morningstar and Cocoweave, have malfunctioning excavator chips. Gold mining productivity has fallen, affecting the city's political stability. The Chosen One is tasked with finding the chip. As known from history, Redding later becomes part of the NCR, and therefore the Chosen One gives the chip to the director of Cocoweave Mine, which actively work towards joining the NCR. In New Reno, the Chosen One helps the clans get rid of the infamous Salvatores, solving the murder of Richard Wright, shuts down the Mordino drug trafficking, and enriches the Bishop family gene pool by having connections with the Mafia's boss, daughter, and wife. However, the Chosen One causes trouble for the Bishops by dealing with the Angelized gang, which, under contract with the Mafia, constantly attacked Vault City, forcing it to join the NCR. The Chosen One justifies the name by being one of the few who roams the wastelands in their own vehicle. However, in New Reno, the Chosen One's car is stolen by a gang of mechanics. An attempt to peacefully reclaim the Iron Horse is unsuccessful, and the Chosen One eliminates the mechanics. The NCR wants to claim Vault 15. At the request of President Tandy, the Chosen One forms an alliance between the NCR and the squatters on the surface of the vault so that they don't hinder entry. In exchange, the NCR promises to help them with food and supplies and agrees to let them settle inside the vault after the Chosen One eliminates the new Huns and retrieves some important equipment from their base. However, according to the agreement's terms, after settling in Vault 15, the squatters join the NCR. The Chosen One also negotiates with Tandy about the potential annexation of Arroyo to the Republic if the NCR begins expanding to the north. After that, the Chosen One finds the Gek in Vault 13, allowed inside by the intelligent Death Claws. Along the way, the Chosen One deals with the constantly pursuing Morton Brothers gang from Redding for killing one of their leaders earlier, as well as the Yakuza gang. While the Chosen One was searching for Gek on July 20, 2242, the Enclave attacks the village of Arroyo and kidnaps all its inhabitants for experimentation with their bioweapon. According to the plan, the Vault 13 prisoners were supposed to serve as the control group, unlike the Arroyo residents, who were already exposed to radiation due to living in the wasteland. The Chosen One learns that the Enclave is in the Pacific Ocean, and the only way to reach them is on the Valdez tanker, idle in the San Francisco Bay, and which was missing navigation system, because Enclave hid its parts at their base in Navarro and Vault 13. The Chosen One infiltrates the Navarro base and steals the missing part of the navigation system, then returns to Vault 13, where he discovers that Frank Horrigan, the mutated Enclave soldier, has massacred the Grutho Pack for their progressive ideas of coexistence between mutants and humans. In San Francisco, two powerful factions operate, the Hubologists and the She. Despite the She's attempt to stay out of politics, Fanatics intervene in their affairs, wishing to take their technologies for themselves. Generally speaking, resolving the conflict between the factions through the Chosen One's intervention can be neglected. We can simplify it to the Hubologists obtaining the fuel they desire for their spaceship to travel to the fictitious planet. However, depending on the quality of the fuel they obtain, either their rocket explodes at launch, or they suffocate due to the lack of ventilation system. In any case, the faction perishes. Besides destroying the Grutho Pack in Val 13, Frank also annihilates the Brotherhood outpost in San Francisco, reclaiming the vertebrate plants brought to them by the Chosen One, also stolen from Navarro. Autumn 2242, the Chosen One asks the Vagrants to leave the tanker and, using it, reaches the Enclave's oil rig. There he kills President Dick Richardson, frees the prisoners, residents of Val 13 and Arroyo, activates the self-destruction system of the station, and deals with Frank Horrigan in Mortal Kombat style. Everyone escapes on the tanker, including the Enclave's deserting unit. On the shore, groups disperse. Deserters and civilian survivors of the Enclave head to Navarro, still under Enclave control, specifically by its military units, the Devil's Brigade and the Leonidas Squadron. Marcus goes wandering into the Wasteland, while the residents of Vault 13 and Arroyo go to the place where the village once stood. With the help of the Gek, refugees rebuild the city, expanding its territory to accommodate new population surge. It receives a new name, New Arroyo. The Chosen One, for his deeds, becomes the first ruler of the city. After the defeat of the Enclave, significant changes occurred in the region. Vault City fails to maintain its independence, and the city joins the NCR. Additionally, Redding, Modoc, Broken Hills, New Arroyo joined the NCR, and most likely Gecko, which was close to Vault City. Its functioning nuclear power plant would be attractive to the NCR. In theory, the Ghost Farm should also join the NCR, but considering the Slag's mutation, I think they will have significant autonomy. According to the dialogue in New Vegas, the Mojave was supposed to become the NCR's sixth state, which means that all the new territory northwest of Shady Sands in 2242 should be annexed to the current states, such as Shady. Of course, this is incorrect. This territory is too vast and there are very powerful political centers, such as Vault City, San Francisco, New Reno. In determining the new NCR states, we will also rely on the maps presented and accepted by the community, on which all this territory is divided into properly sized and federatively logical states. To the original 5 states, Shady, Cobb, Los Angeles, Dayglow, and Maxon, 3 more were added after 2242. Arroyo, with the city of New Arroyo, Vault City, with the cities of Vault City and Gecko, Redding, with the cities of Redding and Modoc. Also in the state of Shady, 2 new settlements appear, Vault 15 and Broken Hills. Without Enclave support, the Salvatores didn't survive and were quickly destroyed. With the death of Myron, the chief chemist, the Nordino clan began to experience financial difficulties and lost influence and power. Although the Wrights clan didn't suffer much from all the Chosen One's deeds, it yielded dominance to the bishops, whose patriarch, John Bishop, essentially took control of the city. As for Klamath, there is no information that the NCR reached them after the events of 2242. For now, within the scope of the holotapes, we will leave Klamath independent. In San Francisco, the Vagrants dispersed and blended with the rest of the city's population, while the Shi embarked on an ambitious project. Based on their technocratic faction, they created the Shi Empire and took control of all of San Francisco. They quickly began to develop and boost sectors of the economy, especially in the banking sector, by establishing the Shi Bank. This concludes the history of the New California and Nevada regions, linked to the events described in Fallout 2. Don't forget to support the project with your activity and check the links to additional materials in the description. Try not to allow your Democratic Republic to have a ruler in power for 10 consecutive terms, and then we might meet in the Wastelands, Wanderers. End of the holotape.